And we're going to shift away from that. Thank you for staying with us here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. That's Carlene right across from me.
Hi.
Hey, Carlene.
Hi.
We are chugging along. We want to continue the momentum because we want to talk about the one big beautiful bill, well, I guess now law, the legislation, and its continued impacts. One of those impacts being cuts when it comes to education. There was a news conference yesterday with North Carolina Attorney General Jeff Jackson, along with State Superintendent Mo Green, regarding the impacts of these cuts. And all of this comes as Education Secretary Linda McMahon is expected to move quickly now that the Supreme Court has cleared the way for the Trump administration to continue unwinding the Department of Education. So a lot of moving parts. Again, I did mention the press conference from yesterday with Superintendent Mo Green and Attorney General Jeff Jackson. WCNC Charlotte's Julie Kay is here in studio. Of course, we had to bring back Julie to break this down. You're following this story. So, again, as I mentioned, we heard from State Superintendent. We heard from Attorney General. What does this all mean when it comes to, we talk about federal cuts in North Carolina specifically? What does this mean for North Carolina?
So for North Carolina specifically, I know we're talking about billions and billions of dollars. North Carolina is missing $165 million that was supposed to go to school districts, to after-school programs, all sorts of different things related to education, but most largely impacting school districts, especially here in Charlotte-Mecklenburg, biggest school district. They're going to be missing $12 million. And it's not just the fact that they're missing this funding that they were anticipating. Attorney General Jeff Jackson says, well, this came the day before it was supposed to drop into these bank accounts. This information came in an email the night before, hours before, that schools were supposed to get this funding. Schools have already budgeted out their years. I've been in here talking about budgets a million times. They've already hired people with this funding, knowing that it was coming, assuming that it was coming. And so he said it's not just the fact that this is going to be impacting our schools. He says, and as do 24 other state attorney generals, that this is not legal. Congress authorized these funds. Therefore, the Department of Education does not have the authority, or the Trump administration does not have the authority to just take these funds away, especially not at the last second. He acknowledged if they want to take these funds away. Of course, the Trump administration says this is waste, fraud, and abuse. They are trying to limit excess spending. If that's something they want to do, they have to go through Congress, and that did not happen in this case.
Yeah, and one of the arguments from folks against the one big beautiful bill legislation when it comes to the Department of Education dismantling it is that it took an act of Congress to create this department, so it should take an act of Congress to dismantle the Department of Education. So I guess logical question, what happens next?
Well, and to be honest, we don't know at this point. The schools are kind of in this point where they're unsure of how to handle this. We know that Attorney General Jeff Jackson says at least 1,000 educators in North Carolina about 1,000 educators will lose their jobs. I believe it's 922 that we know of right now. Charlotte-Mecklenburg may have to make some changes. $12 million is a big loss to their budget. Just last week when we had gotten word of this funding, of course this is a step up to take it to a lawsuit, but I spoke with Our Bridge for Kids, and they run an after-school program and a summer program for refugee families, for immigrant families who English is maybe their first language. This is their first time living in America. That's a free program that got some federal funding, not only federal funding, but they are one of the programs that lost out on this. So I have this full workup from the State Board of Education. So it's 21st Century Community Learning Centers. That's what Our Bridge for Kids falls under, so that's included. That's a lot of after-school programs, English language acquisition, education of migratory children, supporting effective instruction, and student support and academic enrichment. Those are the last two ones I mentioned were the biggest chunk. Not every district got funding for each of these. Charlotte-Mecklenburg didn't get funding for every single one of these, although they did get the biggest bulk. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens now, because I don't think there's necessarily an answer other than we know we'll have to lose some teachers and cut some programs.
Wow. Have we heard from from CMS and other school districts in the area? Have they? I know we've heard from school board
Yes.
members individually, but the school district as a whole.
Not so formally, but to be honest, this is something that we have known about for a couple weeks now.
Mm-hmm.
June 30th is the day that we were supposed to get this funding, or the day before we were supposed to get this funding. That's when the information started to trickle in. So I think for a couple weeks now, they've been preparing. Now that it's kind of been escalated to this level of half the states are getting involved in a lawsuit, I think now it's really setting in that, like, yeah, this is happening. A lawsuit is not quick work, as we know.
Yeah.
And so I think this is probably the week we'll hear a little bit more formally from some of those school districts in our area.
That is Julie Kay. Julie, when can folks catch? Look, if it was me, I would say 4, 5, and 6, but I'm not going to say that. When can folks catch you on WCNC Charlotte?
We'll be on at 4 and 6.
4 and 6. I was close.
Very.
I was close. Julie, thank you for your time as always. Again, a big story, not only here that we're following, but across the nation. A big story and one that's getting a lot of eyes. As we have different screens here that you see me occasionally glance at, and that's been the headline for several of the stations and networks that we have here that we are following. So we will continue to track that. We'll continue to keep our eye on that.